I'm honored to represent the Council for Livable World, a board member. And if you're not familiar with that organization, we endorse candidates of both parties that share our views on national security issues. We normally do not endorse primaries. This is very unusual, but this is an unusual candidate. There is no one, since I've been on the board for 4 years, that matches more our issues and agenda than the congressman. We focus a lot on nuclear control, arms control, missile defense, and for the last 7 years or so, focusing on Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. Now, in another life, I'm part of an outreach program going around the country talking about national security issues. And it so happens in the next 4 months, I will be talking about the economic dimension of national security, and also to a World Affairs Council in South Carolina, I will be talking about Afghanistan, Pakistan. So in that way, we match the congressman's view. Let me say this from our perspective. The United States is at a critical point. We face national security challenges that do not lend themselves to past policies. It's a much broader concept than that. We've watched the congressman as he has worked in Congress. He is one of the shining lights of Congress. He has reached across the aisle to people like Walter Jones in North Carolina to solve it on an nonpartisan basis. So once again, I am very honored to represent the Council for Livable World in our public endorsement of Congressman Sestak.
Thank you, General, very much. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I'm very honored to receive this endorsement. I'd like to say it again, I'm honored. I've worked closely with the Council since before my first election and over the past 2.5 years. They epitomize exactly the approach that we need in the United States for our foreign, for our domestic, for our overall national security policy. They bode for us leadership in the terms of laying out that we need a strategy of engagement in this world once again. We recognize that military is a power of ours, but it's not the leading power. That place is held by the power of our ideals. But the power of our economy, the power of our diplomacy, the other elements of our power for which we stand so rightly for in this nation, in this world, are underscored by the success that one can have if you do pursue a world where you believe where there's peace and prosperity, America will have more security. The military is not intended to be the first use when an issue arises. In fact, militaries may stop a problem, but they cannot solve that problem. The myriad of approaches that is needed in order to enhance our security, from nuclear arms and their reduction, and eventually elimination, we hope, down to addressing that issue of other weapons of mass destruction and the threat we have from counterproliferation. To be able to see that how we deal with other nations has to be perceived not from a foreign policy, but a national security policy, one that takes in all elements, not just of our power, but our interagency process. These new transnational dangers we confront, whether it's narcotics, whether it's drugs, traffickers that actually fuel an insurgency overseas, and the national security health of our youth and protecting them from the deterioration caused by that, all bound together in how we can be a stronger America for the number one constitutional duty of our president and I believe Congress, and that's the security of this nation. I'll speak downstairs further, but particularly of what you are about to go out and speak a bunch of more on, which is the gravest danger to our future security, and that is the economic instability that abounds around this globe. Truly, times have changed. Prior to 9/11 and post 9/11, we really do have a salient example on that day of how we must approach our challenges different than we did during the Cold War. So I promise you to be joined at the hip as I become senator in moving us forward into a policy arena where we do bring about security of this world by the diminution of nuclear arms, to handling counterproliferation properly, to ensuring that while our military must remain the most powerful in the world, that it's a last resort, and that preventive diplomacy can bode us less cost and more security done rightly. Thank you very much for your endorsement.
Could I add one thing? We at the council see this man as the future of our government. He represents the future. If you look at him closely, you will recognize that. We cannot stick with a linear path from before.
Thank you, sir.